going to go ahead and call the Kern Valley Healthcare District Monthly Board of Directors meeting to order. Item B is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as written.
Moved by Director Bush. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Director Parks. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Item 1 is the flag salute. Our CEO, Tim McGlue, will lead the flag salute this evening.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And those who wish to remain standing, Mr. Beadle, if you would give the invocation tonight.
Sure. Our righteous eternal Father in heaven, we bow at the beginning of this monthly meeting of the Kern Valley Healthcare District. Grateful, Father, we are for this time and for having this service here in our community. We ask you to help us and guide us in the things that we do tonight, that we may be united in our thoughts and our actions, and that those thoughts and actions may be in accordance with our mind and will. Bless us and help us always to help those who need help, to be grateful for those who have the expertise to provide the care that needs to be given. And this we ask this night in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Chad. And item 3 is our mission statement. Director Bush will read the mission statement tonight.
Our mission statement reads, we will provide high-quality, efficient patient care services that respond to community and provider needs. We will provide leadership in health promotion and education for our patients, residents, medical staff, employees, and community throughout the district.
Okay, thank you, Director Bush. Item C is public comment. Do we have any public comment this evening? Yes, ma'am, and under the Brown Act, it's 3 minutes, and please state your name and go to the podium. Thank you.
I live in Squirrel Valley. First of all, I want to thank the foundation for the concerts. These concerts in the park are the best. It's a very big morale boost for the community. And it's wonderful to see children being children. They're playing, they're silly, they're dancing. It's a great activity. I hope it stays every summer, and I hope you make some money in the booths.
We do too.
And I have heard so many good things about Dr. Lopez, the new doctor back here. Friends of mine have been going there a long time, and this doctor, she must be the kindest, most caring person because she listens. And the upgrades are beautiful. So keep up all the good work. Okay, now here comes the punch. We'll do that first. Because I drive up and down McCrae all the time, I have noticed a lot of water runs down McCrae. And it's watering all those sunflowers down there. It runs across Laurel, it runs across. So I would really like to speak up to the maintenance department or whoever is in charge of the watering and the landscaping. Because we need to save money on bills, that's one place to start. I know the Mountain Mesa water is a lot less expensive than Cal water, but I'm an environmentalist who believes you have to save the water. Whatever your budget is, the water is more important that we not lose that resource. So I would like somebody here to talk to maintenance, ask them to look at their schedule. Because I went by on August 16th about 8:30. This whole area over here was just flooding everywhere, and it was pouring down. Well, then Friday night after the concert, 9 o'clock, I come home, and this whole front parking lot is flowing. I mean flowing. It's coming down the big walk where you take your wheelchairs up over by the nursing home. It's coming down some of the steps. Some of the sprinklers are too close. They're too heavy going out onto the pavement. But I believe it's running too long. The grasses can't absorb a whole long time of watering. I don't know the schedule, and I don't go by that much at night, but I am pretty disappointed in this happening. And I know if I have anybody's phone numbers on the board, I can call. And I know
Yeah, you
Jay
do.
would prefer I don't call him.
No,
He
no,
never
that's
tells
fine.
me not. He never
You can
tells
call
me
me
not.
directly.
But I would like the attention of the board, the people who pay the bills, and whoever's in charge. I don't know that we need all that grass. The grass is excellent, but there's a different way to landscape with rock, succulents. If you want to keep the grass, I love grass. I love green, it's healing. But we've got to regulate the watering. It has
It's
to
an
be a
easy
shorter
fix.
term, it has to be adjusted. No more going down the road.
They are on timers, and I don't know if there's been an issue with the timer. I'll have to check. I did hear that there were some problems that
Okay.
they're having. That might be what caused that, because
Then
I know it
I-
hasn't been the case, but
Yeah, yeah,
you
please.
can call me anytime
Okay,
you
well,
have an issue.
I don't have your phone number, I got his at home.
I'll be happy to give you my phone.
I got his at work. But anyway,
Anytime.
I just want you to please conserve the water,
You got it.
bring down the water bill, even if it's small, and maybe reconsider some of the landscaping.
I agree.
We will
Okay.
take that
Thank you so much, Bobby.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bobby.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't mean to be obnoxious.
you're fine.
It's been bugging me
No,
for a long
it's a
time.
very valid point.
That is one of the kindest criticisms we've had in years, you know, so that's an easy fix. It's an easy fix.
I want cooperation.
No.
You got it.
His invocation said it
Yeah.
well. We're all here in one mind.
Yeah.
Get along, make it better.
Okay, are there,
Yep.
Absolutely.
okay, are there any other public comments this evening? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Ms. Featherston. Item D is the consent agenda. And there's quite a bit on here. Is there anything that needs to be pulled before we adopt the consent?
I move we accept the
We did-
consent agenda.
We did the
as
attorney is
submitted.
already offered, or is he, the attorney? He was pulled.
You had pulled something on last
Right,
month's, or on, in the financial, yeah, meeting, right? In finance,
Well,
yeah.
Is there,
I don't see it on here, Gene, so.
okay, make a
Okay.
motion that we accept the consent. agenda.
okay. It's been moved by Director Parks. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Director Bush. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Item E is the reports, foundation reports. Ms. Hess, welcome.
Good evening.
Aye.
We're going to be very busy this month. We have, the first flyer I'm sending out is for the blood draw. That's going to be this Saturday and also on Monday from 8 till 10.
10.
Then on the 21st, or the 20th rather, is going to be the health fair. So here's a flyer for that. We're also doing another diabetic class that starts next Wednesday on the 11th through the 25th from 5:30 till 7 in this room. And then the last thing we have coming up is our annual craft fest. It's our second annual craft fest. So if any of you want tickets, we do have tickets here tonight. Do you have any questions?
It's going to be crab and fillet
It
this
is
year.
going to be crab and filling and nut.
Yeah, just Tim and I don't eat crab, so.
Is it and,
Those
or,
aren't
It's
easy.
going to be either or both. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Ms. Hess? Okay, thank you, Debbie.
Actually, yeah,
yes, go ahead.
if you don't mind, when will we have results of the August shows? Do you know, or is that a foundation?
I should
something
have
that-
like this Friday or Monday.
Okay. Well, I mean, we can report on it next meeting, but,
but
okay.
can, to you, I guess, may comment. I've heard more this year about that park music, and it's awesome. Everybody's loving it. I think because Charlie's not there as much, but
Very
I've
well
heard a
could
lot
be.
of very positive things about it.
Thank you, Debbie. Item 2 is the auxiliary report. Ms. Ruber, welcome. Good evening.
Don't you have I just started doing fast around.
Well, we've had a busy month. In the last 4 weeks, in the last 2 weeks, we've had 4 break-ins down at the liquor store.
Wow.
Yes, so Bob Easterday, head of maintenance, finally put up the galvanized and it looks fabulous. And I think it's gonna cut it down. We still have to order some more because we found another hole now coming behind the sheds because there's people living in the storage facility next door. We're still getting a lot of donations coming in, so that's good. So we have job security there. River Rhythms was awesome this year, as well as my regular volunteers. We had Judy, we had Kenny, we had Jeannie over there, we had, let's see, I got a list, Lonnie, Ellen, and myself. We were the regulars there every week. And the last thing I have is the blood drop, and we will be there Saturday to help you, Jeannie, and I will be working it. So, and I got my tickets.
Are there any questions for Ms. Rubert on the auxiliary? Okay, thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
Item 3 is the medical staff report. Dr. Finstad's not here. Does he have a written report that? Or is it? No? Okay.
They'll present next month. So.
Okay. Item 4 is the Chief Executive Officer report, Mr. McLeod.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Just reporting all hospitals in California were mandated as a part of AB 2190 to submit an attestation to OSHPD regarding the fact that the boards of directors of each of the hospitals have been notified of the need to complete their seismic upgrades by January 1st of 2030, or face the need to either demolish, replace, change to a non-acute use, or seismically retrofit their facilities. Our board, obviously, we have known about that for a long time, but at our board building committee the other day, we did formally bring the attestation letter, which has been sent in to OSHPD. So we are complying with that regulation. Just a quick update on the train project. The lighting retrofit portion of the project has been completed. That was phase 1. Phase 2 is in process. The plans have been reviewed by OSHPD. They have come out with the first set of comments. Those are being addressed by the architects on that project with train for their responses, and then they will be resubmitted, and we will see where we have to go from there. The response, I think, in the lighting so far has been wonderful. It's huge improvement all over the facility. We've got a couple of small areas that for some reason didn't get onto the project, like this room, which we will going to do ourselves as a result of it's not that expensive as an upgrade to do. But again, it just makes a huge difference. And so, again, we're waiting, obviously, if we get similar performance out of the chiller and the 2 boilers that are part of phase 2, that will set us well for the long term. There was a visit held with Kaiser recently. Greg and Chet had a meeting with them to talk about where we go from here. There was some progress made at that meeting to hopefully begin maybe assigning patients to our clinic up here. We're still having some conversations about that, but that was a big step forward, I think, from them. And so, and obviously we got some training that will need to happen by them for our staff prior to that being completed. So again, I think it was a good step forward. We'll see how things progress. We're going to kind of keep the pressure on a little bit to kind of keep this thing moving because we know it's important to the people in the community here. And so, again, we'll be happy to keep you apprised on that one. Chet has been having some regular meetings. We talked about this in our last management meeting about creating some strategic improvement plans. Chet kind of took that one step farther as he's been meeting with each department to kind of on an annual basis go over their financial performance and directions and so forth. And has been coming up with at least a goal or a couple of goals for each department. Apparently it's been well received. We're almost completed with that process. And so we're going to be monitoring those as we go on throughout the year. We're going to be talking about them as part of a regular part of our management meeting, just to kind of keep things moving forward and make sure that we all have our goals. Tonight, I think my goals are kind of on here that will be discussed later. But I think each department should have goals, obviously that they shoot for as well.
And so I want to thank Chet for his work and working with those departments and doing that. And the last thing I have is, the pharmacy, I think I reported last time and the time before that the pharmacy board had been out here inspecting our compounding hood. It's a normal process that they go through. And we had to make some minor revisions with the location of the hood because for certain clearances around that had been completed. It was done as an emergency project through OSHPD. That has been completed. We've received the approval on our compounding certificate, and so we are good to go with that. There's just a couple minor little things that they're finishing up with some flooring in there and so forth, and that will finish that project up. So we're pleased to get that come through from the pharmacy board today. So that's all I have.
Are there any questions or comments for Tim on the CEO report?
On the earthquake requirement that we sent in,
Yeah.
we're still in the process of modifying that, right? Or we're attempting to.
Not modifying it, no. I mean, the grant you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about the requirement by 2030 we have to comply.
Yes.
What we have to comply to is still up in the air, if I understand. The emergency room might be the only thing that we have to...
It might be. At this point in time, the whole thing is still there, yes.
Okay, but they're attempting to change it to...
SB 758 was the bill. That got moved from a bill that was due this year. They made it into a 2-year bill, so it won't come due until next year while they continue to work out that language. So, obviously if the grant comes through, then the monies are there to do the whole thing, which we should do anyway. And if not, then obviously we would start the project with the ER because we know that's the direction they're heading. And so obviously then as we got that completed, we'd look at other phases down the road.
Okay, thanks, Tim.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thanks, Tim.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Oh, yes, Debbie.
Will someone be reporting on the planning and building committee and what happened on that?
They're in the packet. The minutes are in the packet here.
We can,
One of the things that just, and I'll put it out there because I thought it was significant, was that we had a meeting with the architect about 2 weeks ago and reviewing the building codes. The new 2019 building codes have just been released. They're due to go into effect in January of 2020. What we saw in those regulation changes could add a couple $1 million to the project. So we are pushing forward to get the rest of the plans done. We don't have to submit complete plans to OSHPD, but if we can get the bulk of the plans submitted to OSHPD before the end of this year, it will lock into 2016 codes, which will save us a lot. And so the board did approve at that meeting I think the extra monies for the architectural fees and the engineering fees to get that done. And so we're moving forward with that. So that was the most significant piece that came out of that committee meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
of course, Debbie, if you want copies of the minutes of the committee meeting, you can have Heidi make you a copy.
They should be in that full board
Or,
packet.
yeah, the full board packet. Or online, yeah. Okay. Thanks, Debbie. Item 5 is the Chief Nursing Officer report. Mr. Gordon, welcome.
Well, I'm happy to report that I had a wonderful 2-week vacation to South Dakota where I introduced my new great-grandson to the world, and that was wonderful.
Congratulations.
And my second granddaughter was married, so I got to travel back to South Dakota and
You weren't expecting.
participate in that. The birth of my first great-grandson was 3.5 weeks early, so it happened that we were there when it happened, so that was very convenient. And he's very healthy, and he's the cutest baby on the planet.
Of course.
Greg.
Did you induce birth or something?
Well, if you call making my granddaughter run up and down the stairs 3 or 4 times. No.
Got a little to do with it.
So what I do want to report on, though, is some of the progress we're making. I reported last month on the opiate crisis in America and what we're doing as a facility, doing a safe hospital self-assessment to find out ways to decrease the use of opiates, to look at some feasibility studies for the prescribing of Narcan in the community, also for medication-assisted treatment programs that we're looking at. The struggle with a rural community is that there's not a lot of resources. The hospital has to rely on community resources to make these things successful. So we can implement something like that, we can start something like that, but if we don't have the cooperation of the local providers or any new pain management specialists and things like that, there are very low success rates with those kinds of things. On Sunday, I leave to go to a opiate conference, an opiate reduction conference in Phoenix, where I'll hopefully learn about what the rural communities are doing to address some of the problems with opiate-related overdoses and things like that. So I hope to bring back a lot of good information from that conference. We shall see. I reported last month about a electronic health record utilization program. The CPSI, which is our EHR provider, came out and did a kind of an assessment of how we're using their tool, their electronic health record tool, and saw some areas in the nursing administration role, that's my role, where I was not using those tools to the best of their ability. So I looked at what I've been doing, a lot of audits over the past, since January actually, and audits for waiting times for admission. I've been doing audits for medication safety, scanning medications and things like that, MedVerify. I've been doing other critical lab value studies. So there's a lot of studies and a lot of tools that electronic health record has that I'm able to now tap into, start doing the studies, and we've been reporting on those, and steady improvements. We're showing good productivity there. So yes, I am now taking full advantage of what that system has to offer. Progress is moving forward to put our CNA program together. We did get that grant that I mentioned last month. Now I have to submit the packet to the grant company, the people that are offering the grant, so they can say, you have our blessing, go ahead and submit that to the state. That'll be done before the end of September to get that money from the grant, part of that money. And then the next part of that is to put together the program, and the approval we have to get back by the end of December. So the application goes in by the end of this month. The approval for the program is back to us by the end of December. We should have a new program sometime early January, February-ish, I'm hoping, to be able to manage our own program. So we're pretty excited about that. Everybody probably in this room knows the struggles we have with getting CNAs, getting a CNA program together and keep it running. So the trouble with the old CNA program is a lot of our trainees came from the ECHO program that the school had. And the school kind of put that grant-funded program by the wayside because they ran out of money for that program. So a lot of that pipeline went away for those CNA students. They were fresh out of high school and literally it's a struggle to find people for that. And then...
Hey, Mark?
Yes, sir.
Question on CNA. So if we can actually start the classes in January, February timeframe, how long does it take to get them certified? What kind of...
It's, I believe, I'm probably not the right guy to ask. I think it's 12 weeks.
12 weeks.
12 weeks, yeah.
Okay.
And then they have to, it was a good guess, wasn't it? It was a good guess, wasn't
It takes
it?
longer for them to get their certification after they've qualified for
Yeah,
it.
once they take their board certification test,
Yeah.
it can take up to 10 weeks to get their notification back that, hey, you're a CNA now.
Oh.
It's really crazy.
Huh.
It surprises me that it takes them that long if there aren't that many to be had, but it's, I don't know.
So we're looking at probably summertime.
Summer, yeah, spring, summer, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet. And then the other thing is, we have some some turnover right now in the nursing department. I don't have exact figures for you. I try to get those before I came here, but it is tenuous at best. I lost a couple of nurses to moving across the country. They moved to Georgia, of all places. I told them there's a hurricane coming. They didn't believe me, but anyway.
I was just there. I got bitten by mosquitoes and everything.
South Dakota has those too. But anyway, and that's my report unless there are questions.
Any other questions for Mark? Yes, ma'am.
I had a question, Mark. A couple of weeks ago at the River Ribbon concert, there was a woman from Bakersfield Health Services going around with a survey specifically for rural areas. And she was located in Bakersfield, but I don't remember exactly who she said where she was. But they're trying to get some help up here for the rural areas.
Awesome.
Are you associated with that in any way? Or
Haven't heard from that person at all. Never came to my desk. Yeah. And I was at 3 of the 5, so.
Those of us that were there, I didn't know that anybody was there doing that.
Yeah, oh, like I say, she was wearing purple, like that means anything, you know, but she did. She came up, introduced herself, said she did it, she was doing a survey, would we like to participate? There were a few of us who did do that. They were concerned for the rural area, us being one of them, of course, and they wanted to give that information or get the information that she was gathering to Bakersfield. But since Bakersfield's not rural, I was wondering if that associated with us up here.
But to who in Bakersfield?
Yeah, I'm a little skeptical now. I don't
We'll have to
know.
ask
She
her
hasn't
if
been
anyone
here,
else
so.
has talked
Maybe
to
she
you.
was collecting money.
I heard something about it, and it was early on, if I remember correctly. It wasn't at one of the later ones. It was one of the first ones, I think, that
Well,
happened.
this one was 2 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
No.
Yeah, I remember hearing about it early
I
on.
just remember she was
Yeah.
there about two of them.
Yeah.
Thin lady, you remember?
And they
Yeah.
couldn't
I would
remember
encourage
who
you
it was either.
to direct those folks over to, Tim or I or somebody in the hospital to just kind of
Okay.
vet that out,
If
you
it
know
was
what I mean?
Clinica, Sierra Vista, obviously they have their clinics here and so forth. They're based in, Bakersfield.
I would
sure,
have remembered if she had said Clinica
Yeah.
Sierra. She just said health services.
Current Health Systems.
Yes, Current Health.
Well, they were one of the sponsors of the event, so it's possible that they might have been doing
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, it could be, yeah.
Kern Family Health?
Right.
Anything else?
Thank you, Mark.
Pictures of my grandbaby right here.
You kept your tan while you were there.
They'll be around afterwards.
I'm sure we have time to do a slideshow.
PowerPoint.
Yeah. Okay, next is the Chief Financial Officer report. Mr. Beal, welcome.
Well, we've embarked on a new fiscal year. It's really kind of nice that our fiscal year starts in July here because that is normally a fairly busy month for the community. We have and for the hospital with all of the visitors in the summer for water sports, etc. It tends to make our lives a little busier here at the healthcare facilities as well. So we had a pretty decent start for our fiscal year. The month of July saw us on an inpatient side, actually doing 3.6 average in our acute beds, which we haven't seen for a while, which was about the same as we did in the prior year. And it actually, our swing beds have been fairly problematic in the last 6 months. We haven't had as many swing bed patients, some months no patients, but we actually had an average daily census of 1.3 in our swing beds in the month of July, and that was higher than last year at 0.9. So we beat last year's total inpatient medical surgical services average daily census at 4.9 versus 4.6 in the same month of last year. We also beat our average from last year in the skilled nursing. We did 58.9 average daily census of residents versus 57.9 the same month a year ago. Our ER visits, however, were down a little bit from last year, although they were not bad based upon our normal averages. We had 638 emergency room visits versus last year at 682. That actually, to give you an idea, the budget was 599, which is somewhat of an average of what we normally see. We're normally under 600. So that was still not bad. Of those patients, we admitted 4.86%, and last year we admitted 4.5% or 4.55. Our outpatient visits were down a little bit from last year. We had 1,155 outpatient visits. These are patients that come from physicians' offices to have ancillary service tests, not from the emergency room, just from physicians' offices or our rural health clinic. And a year ago, we had 1,209. Observation beds were actually down a little bit too. Bed days at 19 versus 33 last year. Our primary care clinic visits were up substantially. From last year, we had 1,489. That's one of the highest months we've had in a long time for primary care visits. We had 1,117 in the prior year. And by the way, Dr. Lopez was a part of this year, and she had just started in July of last year. So that shows you a little bit of what's happening. We can probably tell you that in that month, certainly all of our providers, including her and all the mid-levels, were busy, full schedules, right? For the specialty visits, which is basically for the most part behavioral health, we also had a good month at 313 visits. We had 295 last year, same month. We had 4 outpatient surgeries. This is not endoscopies. This is actual surgeries, where we had 5 last year in the month of July. We had 50 endoscopies or GI lab procedures. We had 53 last year. Our retail pharmacy is beginning to show signs of waking up from a slower period. Now that we've done some work there and got some new people, they did 3,697 prescriptions filled in the month of July, and a year ago we did 2,724. So you can see that our volume was good in the month of July, relatively speaking. What that volume actually did was it gave us gross patient charges of $9,794,000. I always like to hit as close to $10 million a month as we can, and we came pretty darn close. A year ago, that was only $9.5 million. Collectible, however, based upon the financial classes of those patients, $2.4 million, 2.246. Last year, 2.452, so almost exactly the same. Interestingly, our expenses even, and that was with, by the way, a 7% price increase that was done on July 1st. Our expenses, even though we had subsequent to July of last year, raises that went for people, we had cost increases in some of our items that we buy, supplies, etc., pharmaceuticals. We did $2.360 million in operating expenses, 2.351 last year, so just a hair above what it was last year, not much. So on an operating basis, before non-operating, we did 66,000 profit. Last year we did 101,000. We took our non-operating, which is basically our interest income, our property taxes, our interest expense long-term, and money from auxiliary, et cetera. We had a net deficit this month of July of $1,458. Last year we had a deficit in those categories of $11,523. So this year we actually did $64,700 $602 profit in the month of July. Last year, we did $89,740. Our budget was $57,929, so we beat our budget. We actually did not beat our last year's amount because our net amount of our discounts and allowances were a little greater. Obviously, year-to-date for 1 month is the same. We did have also during the end of last fiscal year, in May and June, we actually had a lot of our supplemental income come in from our non-operating items from Medi-Cal. And so we actually had projected much less, and we thought we were going to start our operating, not all of our cash, but our operating cash at about 137,000 negative, and we actually started the month of July with 1.488 million positive. We collected 2.2 million, we had budgeted 2.1, we spent on operations 2.5, we had budgeted 2.6. We actually didn't have to pull. We had actually said that we were going to pull some money from our investment account, if you will, our reserves, $500,000. We didn't have to pull any money from our investment account. We also kind of expected to, having started to get some money from maybe the grant around this time. We had a budget at $134,000. Obviously, that's still out there and waiting. We'll see if that comes to fruition later. But we still put $130,000 into our bonds. We had expected to put, because the bond payment's August 1st. We also paid extra on our line of credit from the bank, $54,000, and we had projected not to give them anything. So before our operating reserves, we had $993,000. Our budget actually was to be a negative $272,000. We put with our reserves, which are basically an operating reserve of $144,000, which is exactly the same as budgeted, and Medicare overpayment reserve, not much, $7,396. We actually ended the month with $1,145,000 for operations, where our budget was to have $119 negative. And that's my report, unless there are questions.
Very nice.
Chet, Bobby had a question, and
Am I allowed to ask?
you can ask Chet questions.
On the pharmacy services, as I remember correctly, I think the pharmacy is available to paying customers exactly 40 hours a week. If you look at this, and then they're completely closed during lunch, would they expand their services if they found, and I don't know if it would justify the actual new income and new clients coming in with the cost, if they had it open 9 to 10 hours a day, because a lot of people want to go on their lunch hour and they get there and it's like, well, can't go in.
Actually, we moved the lunch hour around a couple different times
Yeah.
to try it, and this is where they found the least demand
Is in the
the hour
lunchtime?
that they take, yeah. Because we tried it, instead of from 12 to 1, we tried it 1 to 2. So we've tried different
But
things, but we, at this point in time, it hasn't.
I'm
this
just
is done.
saying, don't close it. Can you even open it?
Actually, we only have one pharmacist working down there,
Oh, you
and
do?
you must have a pharmacist.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
They
I
get me in there
understand.
without
No, that's
that,
what I'm saying, put it, I didn't know the financial situation, if it would be feasible. If we
We've-
had an overlap.
We've talked about doing that. We've talked about maybe doing it open on Saturday as one
We actually had
option.
a update Saturday.
Yeah, so we've had some recent conversations about that. We haven't come up with a solution yet, so when we do, we'll
No, I was
present
just
that.
curious.
Yeah, no, I agree.
40 hours only with a stop in the middle.
Well, they go from 9 in the morning until 6 p.m. They close at 6 p.m. So,
Right.
and they're closed for 1 hour for lunch.
Yeah, so see, that's 40 hours
Yeah.
a week. Pretty narrow.
Chet, I did have one quick question, I'm sorry. On page 24, is that the year-to-date for the end of June 30th, 2019, the 700,000 profit? Is that it's on page 24, the 13th month trend? Is that the year-to-date, or is that
The
just?
net surplus at the bottom,
Yeah.
Year end.
at the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah.
The 700,000, Barbara, I'm gonna, this is Barbara's number, that's what I'm gonna ask Barbara. The 700,000 is post-closing. We have done, what we did is we took the internal adjustments for even putting in some of the non-operating income, and we actually created a new financial statement post-closing. That is the bottom line that we have. That's not the final bottom line, because it's not the auditor's bottom line.
Well, that was my next
But yes,
question was the, yeah.
that's correct.
Okay.
This is our post-closing bottom line. Yes.
Okay. And of course, that'll fluctuate once the IGT comes in and all that,
Correct.
after the audit.
And
Okay.
any other settlements.
Well, actually, some of this is IGT money.
Oh, it
Or
is.
some of it's prime money, which is like IGT.
Okay.
Okay? But it's what we have based upon what we think is going to hit the income statement. And there's expenses. We have expenses in there too. These are adjustments that we found after the close of the fiscal year. So
Okay.
this is net. This is after post-closing.
Okay.
Is there traditionally, is there a correlation between what comes out in the audit and what you finalize our year at? I mean, has
The
it
answer is yes.
trended differently?
Post-closing, we try to get the post-closing as close as we can
Yeah.
to what we think the auditors would put in there. Now, they can surprise us one way or the other.
Yeah.
Okay?
Historically,
But the
has
answer is
it-
yes.
Historically, has it gone one way or the other more often?
Yes, if you want to talk about, up to about 3 years ago, it went down.
Okay,
From 3 years ago, at least the last 2 years, it's gone up.
okay. That's what I want to know. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Chad. There is no old business this evening, so we'll move on to new business. And item 1 is the annual ACHD meeting. This is on page 53. And this is the Association of California Healthcare Districts, their annual conference. We typically vote on this as a board every year, board members that want to go to this conference. It's very worthwhile. You know, you get to network with some of the other hospital districts in California. They have workshops, they have folks from the legislature come in to talk about some of the laws affecting the healthcare industry in California. And it's going to be October 9th through the 11th down in La Jolla, down near San Diego. La Jolla. Sorry.
Pines, baby.
Yeah.
We don't pick the same.
How much does it cost to play around there?
I don't know, sir.
Far more than we
I
can
don't make
afford.
that much money.
Uncovered.
I played it on my
Do you need a
computer.
motion?
Yes, and then I think once we do the motion, then whoever wants to go, do we just let you know, Heidi? Okay. Because I know Barbara's gone and
I need to go and learn what I can, how to handle Tim better.
Amen.
I make a motion that anyone who wants to, any of the board who wants to go is allowed to go.
Okay.
A second.
Okay, it's been moved by Director Park, seconded by Director Cassis. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So what's in it for the district? What's in it for the public? How does this improve healthcare delivery in Kern Valley?
Well, some of the workshops that I've gone to, they talk very extensively about the Brown Act, how to, you know, communicate with the public, not just in a regular board session, but, you know, outside of a board session. So, I mean, they do like a lot of very informative workshops.
A lot of it is board education.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
It's really the most formal board education you're probably going to find.
Okay.
You know, as it relates to district hospitals.
And I would add, Ross, that my biggest takeaway from attending these was always, undoubtedly, getting together with, that's how I found out about Beta, our insurer, you know, it's by talking to the head of that. But the best part about it was getting together with board members from like districts, you know, up in Northern California and in rural areas who are going through the same ups and downs that we go through. And you find a lot of, they said, well, we did this and this seemed to work really well. And you come away with a lot of information on things that people have tried and done. Getting together with people from other areas, you find out that, again, as with humanity, we have much more in common than we have in different. And so it's always great to just get that. The casual times the seminars are good, you know, the meetings are good. As John mentioned, the Brown Act refreshers are always good, so that we stay on our toes and do things in the proper way. But really, I love the informal conversation, sitting at a table at a meal. You know, I always make sure and kind of get somebody out that I know what district they're from, and that we have this common thread so that we can strike up a conversation and learn from one another. So.
Yeah, last year they even had somebody from Oshpot, I think. The head of Oshpot was there to talk about the seismic
Oh, good.
law and
That'd be
regulations.
an interesting topic.
Yeah. So,
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there any other discussion?
No.
Okay, hearing none, all those in favor?
Is there a second?
Yes, there was. We can't, Barbara Katz is second.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes.
I think I'm going.
So who do I let know if I can go? Heidi? Okay.
Heidi.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a little over a month away, so you got some time. Item 2 is the recommended goals for Tim. That's on page 54 of your packet. And we're going to talk about this after Tim's performance, but I know Tim had some health issues, and then we had some delays with the governance committee reviewing them, so kind of give the board some more time to look at them, but
I haven't had an opportunity to discuss or look at or talk about it at all, period. How can we look at that or give input before you put it on here?
well, it was sent out in the board packet twice, I believe.
It was sent on the board packet on what you're gonna do.
Well, I mean, we can,
Could you give us an opportunity to give input?
Oh, absolutely,
On what I
yeah.
think the goals should be, because they don't seem I know hasn't been, I think we should have higher goals than what's in, so, but specifically, I don't want to take up the rest of the night talking about it, but I would like to be able to have input,
okay, well, we'll let you go first, Director Parks.
okay?
It's,
Not now, because it's a lengthy thing. I would like to, who would I give input to? Do I send you an email, or who do you talk to? You guys have come up
I
with
would love to
something.
hear your input, and we can't discuss it offline anyway because of Brown Act, so share
I
your
got my
info.
notes back at the office, there's a lot of them. But you guys can vote on it, he's gonna do the best he can, and we're gonna move forward, so, but it's better, so,
I have a question. What is the normal time frame for this? And are we on target? That's the two questions I have actually, is the normal, what would be normal time frame for this performance, and the goals to be done without having any illnesses, without having any FEMA decide not to, give us money and then take it back, or whatever they do occasionally.
Well, these are I would,
And then.
This is a new
have-
process, Barbara.
Have those
this is a
things
new-
been
yeah.
resolved?
This was never a
really
requirement
new
before. This is brand new this year, so we're adding some goals to be a part of my overall performance review, which will
and there
happen
are some
next year.
mandated,
Right,
some
I
dates
know,
on here.
But we have been stopped so many times this year with our projects, and
Well, that's what you
different-
set goals to try and obviously keep
different
things
things.
moving towards.
And I'm saying, what is the normal, what have we done in other years that is, of the, as far as the evaluation's concerned, can we compare to other years that are without these things that the state and even federal has come up, and having ideas to for new revenue and not being able to put them in action is, to me, very frustrating because of what's going on in the rest of the United States. And let alone having, we've had employee problems, some employee problems. What is the census
Well,
of
that's-
a normal
That's
year
all in the,
of the goals?
those are all in the
Right.
recommended goals.
Does it look like, when you look at this list, that Tim has met 99% of them? That's,
Well, skilled nursing break even is, what is break even on skilled nursing?
Usually,
we're not in
We're talking overtime's
2020
about
yet.
65.
Okay.
So that's a good number.
So we want them to get up to break even. That's what's supposed to be making us money. And it's wonderful skilled nursing. We're not gonna make any money if it's break even. And the goal is break
Well, with the
even?
point, we are making money in the SNF, and we have for 8 of the 12 months last year. If you go back and look at the financial
Well,
performance.
Chet just said break even is 65.
Well, I don't want to get into that conversation right now.
Okay.
But we've been
Well,
obviously
let's-
making money at a lot less.
Well, if we, you
Okay,
know,
because we've been controlling our costs. I mean,
one
that's
thing is
what
going to
we
lead
have do.
to another. We know
The
full
whole point
well
is we
that
want to
our,
continue to build and move forward. That's what we got to do.
we know full well that probably our biggest problem is just professional to resident ratios. And the CNA program is going to help in that regard, and there's a mandate here to get the CNA program going, which is going to affect skilled nursing. We are profitable because we're profitable in other areas. With skilled nursing, of course, it's, well, let's stop the bleeding a little bit as we go up in census. We slow that down, which makes us even more profitable overall. But one thing's going to lead to another, and there are dates on here, and you know, we don't say by, you know, March 13th of, 2020, but we will visit these as they come along and find out the status.
I mean, obviously with SNF, I mean, you're gonna have some variations because people expire, of course, but hopefully with the marketing that we're doing now, hopefully this number can keep building over the next
The
year.
other thing you have to remember with the SNF is that the reimbursement is based upon your cost from 2 years earlier. So that's how, you may be getting
Well, he was here
a high rate.
he was here
and
2
if your
years
census
ago.
goes down, you're gonna get that lower rate 2 years from now.
But he was here
So
2
you gotta
years
be
ago, so,
careful
Yeah.
if you try to think that what you're doing right now is gonna keep you in the black.
but we want a goal to be more than
That's why,
break even.
that's why you wanna talk about overtime. That's why I said overtime.
Yeah.
65 is a break even.
But we're moving forward and he's doing great. It's just, as far as goals go, I feel like it should be a little better. But however, you guys can go ahead and vote.
Well, I mean, if you have more input, I mean, by all means, I mean.
Can we put it off till next, or do you want to vote on it now? Because I've got a lot of notes at the office, but I thought we were going to have a meeting or something different. These were put together at which committee?
They were disseminated
submitted.
back in June, 2 months ago, I think, at least,
By who?
by Heidi, and they were sent out
And
to
primarily by Ross.
Yeah.
Ross and I worked on them. Right.
started it, and then
Ross researched it
got,
and,
it got disseminated to the board. Then it went to board governance for review. Now it's coming back to the full board for formal adoption.
So I had started on this when I came on board, we were just going through the process of reviewing Tim's performance evaluation. And there's a tool that's used to do that, and in my mind, we've got one employee that we're responsible for, and that's the CEO. Yet we didn't have any goals or anything stated on what we want him to accomplish for the year. And so this was an attempt to capture some of the big ticket items that weren't covered by that performance evaluation tool of here, this is the direction, this is what the board has decided we want you to accomplish
So I
this year.
misunderstood. So you came in just as a person and presented this. I thought it was part of I didn't know it was gonna be.
No, I
gonna
had-
be Part of.
I had done a rough draft of these
Okay,
at some point
okay.
a few
So
months ago.
I misunderstood. I thought some committee had put it together.
No.
And so, okay, so you have put it on.
Yeah, and the thought being, we need to give specific, measurable direction of what we want to see accomplished in the next year.
Okay, it's better than nothing, but
And
those aren't very high.
And let's you know, from where I sit, I want to get this right. So if we need to continue the discussion and talk it more in depth at our next meeting, let's do
Yeah,
it.
would you mind?
Not at all.
I mean, a lot of these Tim's already working on already. I
They're
mean,
just,
Right.
part of the normal thing that we're gonna do anyway to keep the district moving. Obviously, financial
Well,
performance, obviously, the grants.
Yeah.
Obviously working on, the mobile clinic, getting that license, the CNA training program. Those are all things that we need to get done, and obviously just to keep things moving forward. This is really what we're doing, is codifying it, that this is the direction we wanna work in. And it's a first pass, and obviously over time we'll evolve the process, and we'll get more feedback and input into it. But the
Okay,
idea was to at least get something in there.
Then I'll make a motion, we accept this as it is right now, and we can look at it as we progress along. If we feel like.
okay. There's a motion by Director Parks,
I will second.
and it's been seconded by Director Bush. Is there any further discussion? Just for the record, Scott, we don't have to go through every single one of these, do we, as a public record? Or
No, you don't. It's
Okay.
entirely up to you.
it's in the board packet. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
The last item on the agenda is the capital expenditure request, True Bridge Revenue Cycle Management Software. Judy Luttrell, if you would please come to the lectern.
Can I interject here for just a sec?
Yes, of course.
This was reviewed by the finance committee, but we couldn't act on it because it didn't. There was
Not a
a,
consent.
well,
Didn't get
there wasn't enough stuff for us to act on it.
Okay.
But it's, and typically something like this would be, on the consent agenda. But because of the urgency of it, we asked Judy to say, let's put it on the board agenda so the board can act. And
Okay.
so that's why it's on the agenda
Right,
tonight.
right. We
rather
couldn't
than-
give notice, we weren't given notice, send it to us in advance.
Oh, okay.
So there was a timing problem in the sense. We're just going to meet next week. Let's see if the board will.
All right.
So thanks for giving me the opportunity. I would have preferred to put what I'm going to show you on the board, but then you might break your necks. So I did make some color copies, which I apologize to the trees. If you'll share, that would be great.
Sure.
Before I ask for money and approval on a CER, I wanted to just present to you a little bit of information about the revenue cycle and what we do in patient financial services to really justify what we're asking for. So what you have in front of you is just revenue cycle KPIs, goals. KPIs are key performance indicators. The first one, the first slide you're looking at is just the revenue cycle. And if you start at the top circle there on the revenue cycle tab, you see that that is registration. They pull all the demographic in, they get patients' eligibility off of their insurance card. If we get it right there, we're off to a great start. The next step in the revenue cycle is charge capture. Any department that is providing services to a patient in any way, shape, and form needs to document and capture the charge for that service or supply. Next step in the revenue cycle is coding. That's done in the HIM Health Information Management Department. And there are specific codes that have to go along with a diagnosis. Insurance companies don't pay for pneumonia. They pay for 486. So those words, diagnostic and procedural words, are converted into codes that are paid for by the insurance companies. Next process in the revenue cycle is claims scrubbing. So once the account is coded, it drops into patient financial services world. There's queues. I pull up my queue every morning, and my claims are there, and each one I scrub. Some of that scrubbing is done internally with edits that'll pop up saying you can't have this with that, you gotta add this with that. But the billers are scrubbing those claims to get them clean before they send them out. And then we, hopefully, we've submitted those claims, and the next thing in the revenue cycle is we get paid. What a beautiful thing, what a perfect little world. It doesn't happen that way, but anyways, it's great to live on that planet. When a claim goes out and does not get paid, you have to work that claim. You have to follow up. You have to figure out why. Some claims are denied. That's the next thing. We're following up to figure out why they didn't get paid, and then we go into our denials or we appeal some of those denials. That's the revenue cycle. That's what we're looking at software for. We do have software. We're looking for a bigger, better, faster software. The next slide is the DNFB. It's called Discharge Not Final Bill. This is one of the department's goals. So what this says is patients have been discharged and they're not billed. So what we want to do is, our goal is to be under $800,000 at any given time. And right now we're sitting at July, we were at just about $900,000. A lot of work goes into that, a lot of people responsible for that. It's actually a pretty good number. I've seen a lot of DNFBs, discharge not final bill, very, very, very high and out of control. This isn't ridiculous at all. The next goal that the department has is aging over 120 days. If a claim is 30, 60, 90 days old, we don't necessarily spend a lot of our energy and time on it, except that those that are going into denial or those that should have paid, Medicare pays it very quickly, 14 days. If it's not paid in 14 days, we're going to go find out why. But some insurance companies take longer. The VA, for instance, they may take a year to pay. But anything that falls over 120 days old is money that we have to work on getting. It should never get out this far. This is a bad news. Right now we're at 25%, or excuse me, 26% of our total over AR is over 120 days. Our goal is to have that less than 15. So we're working on that every day. The next one is denials. These are inpatient denials, outpatient denials. We don't have a very good process in our current system to track denials. It's very, very manual, very, very labor intense. So right now we have, in July, we had 26 denials, and in the revenue cycle meeting, we talk about how much we've recovered, how much is at risk dollar-wise. The next one is the clean claim rate. These are how many claims go out the door and get paid without anybody touching them, just boom, boom, boom. What we want to see is an overall rate of 85% or better clean claim rate. That is industry standard best practice. We are at 84 for the month of July. The other thing that comes into play with the revenue cycle is registration accuracy. There's people in front of the patients getting all this information, and if they make mistakes, it trickles all the way down to a bill not getting out clean. So the goal here is to be at 90%, get us to 90%, and then we're going to stretch that to 95, another industry standard best practice. So we are at 93% in June. We took July off trying to get automated in our registration QA. It has not panned out. We've gone back to manual. Point of service collections. This is when we ask our patients for their co-pays, their deductibles, those kinds of things. So we want our goal to be 25,000, which is actually a very low goal. We're not asking for too much yet till we get the practice down the way we want it. But we are currently at asking monthly. July we asked for we received $21,000 in deductibles, co-pays, and co-insurance. Another goal we have is cash collections as a percent of net revenue. That's your pie graph. This pie graph represents each month, January to July, and the percent of cash collections for net revenue was 92.8. Of course, we want to be at 100% plus.
Hey, Judy?
Yes.
I don't want to interrupt your flow, but
No,
can we
go right ahead.
can we go back for a sec to the point of service collections?
Uh-huh.
So the goal being a dollar amount, it seems odd to me, because I'm not in the billing world. So explain to me why that makes sense, because it seems like to me we would want, 100% of what's
More of a
collectible
percentage
collect
than
up front,
a hard number.
rather than a dollar amount.
Right. You can do it that way. Most industries go by a point of service collection based on a dollar amount.
Really?
Because we can tell that we have Medicare, you can't even count those. We don't get deductibles, we don't get copays. So based on your payer contract or the payer population that we see, we know $20 copays, so we have a dollar estimate. This particular number, I'm not even sure, you and I talked about this number.
It's based upon a history of what we have collected in the past
Yeah.
for upfront collections and what we actually would like to see. Actually, it's been at around 20,000 for a number of years. And so raising that is good, but basically it used to be even lower.
So there's only so much that is going to be collectible from, based on our financial class, the patient population that we serve. So Medicare and Medi-Cal, we're not going to get any deductibles, we're not going to get any copays. So we come up with, on an average, based on our population,
Okay,
what should we be seeing?
okay. Thank you.
And like I said, that's really a low threshold, but you don't want to put it at 50 and expect people to get there. You want to take steps.
My question would be, that lends itself to a percentage, like you said. If the percentage is, we've collected 20,000 a month for 10 months, what should we have? That's what I.
Yeah, and I don't have the ability in the current system to do that.
Maybe with the new system. May I ask you something?
Good lead-in, huh?
We want it to go up. And really, if you look at our averages
More than
for by
3%
month
too.
over the last 5 years, you will not see it going, you're not seeing it going down, but you will not see it going up.
Yeah. A lot of our emergency room business is hard to get back to patients or their families and ask for money in an emergency situation.
Yeah.
I mean, they're trained, it's a skill set of how to ask that, when to ask that. So they're doing a great job. The clinic does a great job too.
By the time Ross and I are done with you, we'll be back at the beginning of this presentation. But I want to jump back to the registration accuracy,
Okay.
just above the point of service. Is this program that we're talking about, is this something that will flag some sort of efficiency or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, our system actually can do it now, and we just spent a lot of time building the background of it, and it's just not sophisticated enough.
But this one can go back, probably pinpoint where the problem is, that this,
And we
where
can-
in the chain?
We can do that now, just not as in-depth as we need to. The manual process is actually better for us.
Yeah.
So everybody has a scorecard in registration.
Okay.
We can tell exactly who's doing what and how long we've been doing it that way.
Thank you.
And there's progressive discipline going on and that whole
If you look
thing.
at the last page of your financial packet each month, it has a lot of these goals on there.
Oh, are they there? And the last one is the bad debt write-off. This is after we have exhausted all efforts, primarily your private pays that patients have not made contact with us. We make big efforts to get a hold of them to make payment arrangements, $5 a month, and we'll be happy. So this is the stuff that we're writing off. There's also some other write-offs in there as well, but this is basically bad debt write-off. We want our bad debt write-off to be as little as possible. So we're looking for a 3.44% bad debt write-off, and we're at 9% last month, which was a little high for a few specific reasons. Anyways, if you wanted to know more in detail, we don't have to take up the time here to do that. I can bring it to the finance committee if Ross and Jean are interested in that. Wherever you like. I have a revenue cycle committee meeting every month, and this is where this information is shared and discussed at that meeting. So with that said, I'd like to request the board's approval for the purchase of what is called TrueBridge Revenue Cycle Management. It is a web-based billing system. We currently use CPSI's product. This is CPSI's product. It's just the bigger, the better, the newer system. They actually bought out a revenue cycle management system and are bringing it into facilities that have CPSI.
So this is completely compatible with our.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so on page 61 in your packet, if I can refer you there, I've done a project proposal summary. And this is basically telling you it's a software implementation. It's about a 6-month go live from contract to go live, and that's with everybody on their knees quite often. The implementation costs are $14,675. That's a one-time implementation fee. The monthly fees are $3,335, and that is quite a big increase from our current pricing each month, which runs about $700 or $800 depending on the volumes of claims we transmit. Dina in risk management helped us with a SHIP grant, and that is going to be bringing us $4,000 to $5,000 to put towards the implementation to kind of help out with that cost. The increase in the monthly cost for the program, it's really adding on products we don't have now that the return on investment will prove itself in no time. The new products are the RA management. We live in a stacks and stacks and stacks of paper in the Patient Financial Services Department, and this will eliminate dramatically because when you get an RA, which are your explanation of benefits from your insurance companies, those come to us all in paper, just like they do to you. And with this system, we can sign up with those insurance companies and get them all electronically, and there's no more paper. We also have to not only handle that paper, we have to scan it into our system. And this will eliminate that altogether. There's some other bells and whistles with that as well. This comes with a $500 a month denials management program, which will automate our denials. We can trend, we can figure out, is it a payer, is it a person, is it a physician, is it a product? What product line is suffering from these denials, and how do we manage that better? Contract management is the most expensive product on the new list, and this is probably the most exciting part of the program for me. What you do is you build your contracts into the system. So if we have a contract with Bakersfield Family Medical Center or Kern Health Systems, great contract to work with. And they're saying that they're doing this percentage of this for that, and that they're going to pay this, but they're only going to pay 80% of that, and this is not covered. You build all that into your system. So when you get paid by that company, you post that payment, it's going to say, wait a minute, didn't pay the contract. So there is the potential for so much lost revenue, so much lost income, because we're not managing our contracts against what we're getting paid.
Potential for increased income.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then the scrubbing and submission software is priced a little bit differently in this particular product. So our goals, objectives for what I'm proposing is to increase the productivity for faster billing, which allows for more timely follow-up, which reduces those old aged accounts. Automating, customizing things in a way that just allows that workflow to reduce all this manual process. I wish you guys knew our business and you could hang out with us and understand the way that things work are so out of control with how you have to do things in a manual world. Number 2 objective would be to improve the management of the denials and the contract management by reducing any loss of revenue there. Number 3 would be reduce our 120-day accounts by 11%. Goals have to be measurable. So are reducing our 120 days to 11%. Chet was wanting it to be a little bit more, but I was afraid to go that far and set myself up and my team up for failure. So I think I got close enough that he was okay with it. But that is a best practice within 12 months of the completion date. And then the 4th objective is another measurable goal of reducing our AR to 54%, another one that Chet wanted me to go a little lower, and I was a little nervous there. So I went with 54%, which is a very, very respectable AR within 18 months of the completion date. So I listed there on that page 61 that you're looking at the different products for the cost breakdown. There's also a page on page 62 which gives you the cost comparison to what we have now and what we will, and the difference between what we would have if we were to get this product. The only thing, there's only 2 caveats to the entire project, and that is we have not been able to speak with a skilled nursing facility that uses this system so that we can just take our edge off of how does it work for you guys, what does it look like, because it's very particular when you're billing for skilled nursing facilities. I did get a name and a number of a facility today. So we will be making contact to them. It is not a showstopper. If this facility says you can't do it that way, we don't do it that way, it won't work that way, we can still do it the way we're doing it now. It's not the worst thing in the world. And then the other caveat is the Medi-Cal eligibility. When those come across, they have to look a certain way for our auditors for them to be acceptable, and we're looking for a California facility that can provide us one so that we can make sure. If, again, the system can't give us one that the auditors are okay with, we can always do our Medi-Cal eligibility the way we do it now.
Can we build that into the contract if they continue
Excuse me?
Can we build it into the contract if they continue to develop that until we get one that's acceptable?
That's a great idea, absolutely. Yeah, I'm just hoping it all, they can do it.
They actually were supposed to have done that in the prior contract.
That's what I
We're
thought.
never able to do it.
Yeah.
So the biggest question, I don't think there's any doubt that, it's wonderful to do something that's more efficient, that makes it more efficient, that is going to, we look at it in a realistic point of view, we go, wow, that's a lot of money to spend. But guess what, I don't know everything. That comes as a shock to many of you, I know. But so I, depend on people like Judy and Barbara and Chet in this regard. In your opinion, you feel this is a worthwhile?
My situation is, I don't like to buy things just to make it easier,
No,
The
but to
big
make it
thing
more
on this
efficient.
that really I went for, and although I think sometimes they're pricing a little high, but it's not, they're not that high compared to what they wanted us to spend on their increase product. We're not getting it all. We're just getting pieces of it. It's the contracts management. There's absolutely never been, and is not, any contract management with our contract payers right now. The only reason that we do as well as we do in our AR days and our collections is because a lot of it's Medi-Cal and Medicare and Medi-Cal managed care. Okay? That's the only reason. Because we don't do any contract management. It's what the person is actually adjudicating when that comes in the RA. They try to catch things just by knowing, but outside of that, that is the entire amount of contract management. So this actually builds in what I was used to for most systems 25 years ago. Okay? Most systems had a contract management capability over 20 years ago. Why? Because most of the systems out there were using third-party payers. The Blue Crosses, the Aetnas, okay? Those, you want to have contracts management in there because they won't necessarily pay you what you contracted for at that time. So if you don't catch it when you're adjudicating, when you're looking at the payment and posting it, you're not gonna catch it.
I would assume that like you said, it's a little unknown on how this might integrate with the skilled nursing facility, but I'm assuming all other departments, including our health clinic.
It's all built.
It's all built.
It's not as applicable to the skilled nursing unless they can change what they now can't do with Medi-Cal, because CPSI could not bill Medi-Cal correctly. And that's because they really proliferate in other states and not California. They're growing more here, but basically they've never been able to bill Medi-Cal in a way that Medi-Cal needs to be billed or wants to be billed. So we have to send it off to a separate clearinghouse. That's what we do now. And they're trying to tell us again that they can fix it. We don't have to send it off
In the new
to a separate
system,
clearinghouse.
we live right there.
And that's why she's trying to have somebody show her in California, in a skilled nursing facility, that it will do what Medi-Cal wants it to do.
I think it's a fair request of the maker, to find out if this is to get that information, but I mean, you say maybe not in favor of making things that much easier. I look at
In my
more
opinion,
efficiency.
if this is done right, because she talked about the number of the days you wanting it was in 23 and you wanted it to be down under 15. Okay, most of that is commercial insurance. Our days are great for Medicare. Our days are great for Medi-Cal and Medi-Cal managed care. They're not so great for commercial insurance. commercial insurance should be down there under 15%.
But if we could, I mean, but the whole,
You
the sum
certainly
of
hope that
the
if
sum
you
of the
put
parts obviously is
contract
higher than
management in
we-
there, that you will get down there under 15%
Yeah.
for commercial insurance, and you may recoup enough to pay for the ongoing price of the contract,
Okay.
which is the biggest share of what you're paying.
Ma'am, you had a question for
Yeah,
Judy?
if you don't mind, as I'm listening to everyone speak, in the big picture, the overall picture, do you have an estimated, say, percentage? I understand you don't know, but is there an estimated percentage of the increase in revenue because of this accuracy of this program?
I have not calculated increased percentages into dollars now.
And it's
I mean, it's kind of hard to know, like,
It's gonna be-
unless you're
maybe
managing each
It's
individual
gonna be a pretty good
contract.
sized swag factor, because you're really talking about the kind of contract management.
Right.
And I may
Right.
not have said it correctly. There's a reason for this, not just making it easy.
Is the investment going to pay off?
Yes,
And put us in a
sort of. And I
better,
know that-
put us in a
Right,
more
yeah.
positive.
So-
And we can't predict the future. I
Right, so
understand that.
when you look at, on the project, I'm sorry, you're not able to see it, but on the project proposal, where the project objectives, so besides improving efficiency and workflow, that's manpower, so there's always a cost saving when you can increase manpower and reduce, redundancies, unnecessary redundancy. In the reducing our 120-day accounts to 11%, by 11% to 11% within 12 months, I didn't take that 11% against how much dollars is in there, so I couldn't tell you a dollar figure. But if my team and I are successful at that, it's gonna triple the cost of this thing easy. And then the reducing the AR to 54%. What the AR is how much is sitting out there waiting to be paid and how much we got paid. So if we can, right now we're at 58. So if we can get money in quicker, faster, that pays for itself as well. But I did not convert percentages into dollars.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. McGarrett had a question?
Yeah. So you said, in the answer to her, you mentioned that with this software, you are able to not have as much manpower. You don't need as much manpower, so you're able to have so much better accuracy in the program. Does that mean you're able to downsize employees that you have within your?
There may be in the future, but at this point, we don't have enough manpower to do the follow-up and the things that we need to be doing well right now. So this will free up staff to be able to be more effective at what they should be doing in the revenue cycle. I have talked about the possibility of that. It wouldn't be something more than maybe a 0.5 FTE in the long run if it happens.
I've got a crystal ball on that. Whenever I've seen automation solutions that, tout greater efficiencies and whatnot, rarely does it end up leading to fewer people needing to manage it. Those people may be more productive. It may be bringing in revenue sooner, which is what I'm hoping to see. But in automation solutions, you show me a project where it really results in fewer people needed, and it's rare.
Not only that,
It's really rare.
understand, they have a productivity factor.
Yeah.
The productivity factor is registrations. That's not gonna change, so they're still gonna have the same number of registrations, whether they have this system or whether they don't, and it's gonna come out to the same number of worked FTEs in their productivity schedule. I do not anticipate any reduction in hours worked. Judy's right. The two big things in accounts receivable here that are problems, deficiencies, are the contracts management I talked about and follow-up. Now, she talked about not doing anything for up to 90 days. Well, the whole idea is if it doesn't hit exactly when it's supposed to, and most of the time they will, you do follow-up. The orientation has been, here comes the bills. The 3 days after discharge, they're dropping. Get them out. Don't go home until you get them out. And that's good, because that's true. But you gotta follow them up. And the longer you wait, how much money did I write off today for past timely follow-up? Tell me.
$60,000?
Okay, well,
Can I make a
There you go.
motion? Can I make a motion to accept the proposal as, we can still have discussion, right? But
You can do a motion, a second, and then have the remaining
I'd
discussion.
like to
before we
make a motion to accept her proposal as presented.
There's a motion by Director Parks, is there a second?
A second.
Second by Director Cassis. Is there any other discussion or any other questions for Judy?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for the presentation, Judy.
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, is there any opposed? Okay, that has passed. Item H is director's comments on items not appearing on the agenda. We'll start with Director Elliott. Do you have anything?
You know, I don't have anything huge. I wanted to think, I wrote your name down. This is Weatherstone?
Featherstone.
Featherstone?
Featherton.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming and telling us of your concerns.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
And they will be addressed.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it will be. Well, I think it's an important issue, and if it's something that's bugging you and you never say anything about it, how are we going to fix it? So, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, you're well.
Director Bush, do you have anything?
Yeah, I would like to ask Judy if, since we've approved getting this program, is it possible for you to pirate a copy for me? No. I'm just joking. No, the only thing that, thank you. I'm glad you mentioned about the water, because I feel the same way. It maddens me that I see some commercial properties around here watering at 4:30 in the afternoon. When I'm going, half of it's evaporating before it even, does its job. But because no matter how much water we have, we still need to conserve.
Well, at least they're doing it at night.
Yeah, they're doing it at the proper time they are. But thanks for bringing that up. I've always said, and it still holds true, that we can't fix it if we don't know what's going on. So no matter how how trivial it may seem, how major and it may seem, we want to hear about it. But the only thing I wanted to get out of my mouth tonight was to say thank you to Cindy and the entire auxiliary, the foundation, everything. And I want to thank Orion Sanders for all the help with he took a lot off my plate this year. He and Deborah Hess took a lot off my plate because I've been very busy with River Rhythms this year. So I just wanted to publicly say thank you for your participation. Looking forward to next year. I hope there's only 4 Fridays next month. And Bob Easterday, I want to say thanks to him, because he's the best roadie money can buy. He's very good.
I want to give a shout out real fast on that note to the fact that we were able to have several of those weekends the Skilled Nursing Center residents out.
Yes.
That was,
that was awesome.
That was cool.
that was fabulous.
Got to show off the bus.
And dancing.
And
Yes, they were up dancing.
Yes.
Thank you, Susie Cedar, for that.
Whoever took
Yes.
it, well, you know what? Oh, your recreation department.
Okay.
Good chance.
Is there anything else, Director Bush?
No, thank you.
Oh.
You will. Okay, Director Parks.
I just want to thank Heidi for correcting the minutes to the July minutes that was in the packet, that it was left out that Bob's total income was brought up to $362 a year for the total compensation, and it was corrected, so thank you, Heidi.
We'll make sure to put that in the minutes that you meant Tim, not Bob.
Oh, Tim. But he reminds me so much of Bob Bibby, who I respect a lot, and I keep confusing. Tim.
Well, they're both from the Boston area too, so. Director Cassis, do you have anything?
I just think it's exciting that to see that these things that can improve not only the healthcare situation, that we are moving forward no matter how many stumbling blocks are put in front of us, and that we have employees that that are stalwart enough to stand behind an idea that will bring more revenue in. I like to see that after all the years I've been serving. It really, it turns me on. And I thank you for being here.
And I'll just reiterate what everybody else said and say to you all the time. Thank you all for coming. We are adjourned at 7:30. Thank you.
And my
Thank you.